As I was learning every one of these strategies, I thought to myself, my kids use these strategies on me. So I need to get on this and know exactly what they're doing so I can use them back more strategically. Hi everybody, Jody Ballion here with FamCentric. I am so excited. I just took a course on negotiations with Phil Lecter. He's the Vice President of Techademics and a master negotiator. And he has his own children, 2 sons, aged 10 and 21, who I'm sure have grown up to be their own negotiators.
Oh, you better believe it. And of course it's the younger one that's just out of control negotiating. It's unbelievable.
So we wanted to share with you some of the tips that we found, because as I was learning about negotiating, I thought to myself the whole time, parents need to know this. This is amazing. So the more prepared you are, the more successful you will be in your negotiations. And one thing I found as a parent is the best quote I found in this entire course is, the person with the most confidence comes out most likely the winner in the negotiations. So
that is so true, Jody.
I love that quote.
I tell you, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me. And I tell you what great information you're getting through this channel and what Jody's doing. You know, there is not enough information for parents. And that is the truth. I know, you know, being a parent myself and trying to raise 2 boys, talk about winging it, talk about just trying to figure it out. You know, there's no instruction manual, there's none of that. So this is just awesome what you're doing. I'm really, really impressed and so excited to be part of this.
Thank you. It is like a jungle of information out there. So my goal is to try to at least make it a little more clear and help step by step for parents.
Awesome.
Thank you for helping with this.
Absolutely.
So the other thing is to be prepared. The more prepared you are in your negotiations, the more likely you'll have success. And that goes for business, that goes for parents, that goes for pretty much anything you do. The more you have a plan and you're prepared, the more likely you are to accomplish it and know where you're going with it. So most of us parents, we know when our kids are wanting something.
Yeah, they tend to tell us. I mean, they have this thing that's called asking a lot. And, you know, it's amazing as parents, we you know, in the workforce, oftentimes we forget that we're grown up to, you know, and when we're grown up, all we do is ask. And I mean, they actually have an advantage that they don't have a lot of the baggage that we do as parents.
Totally.
Right? In that category.
Absolutely. So I wrote an article covering the top 10 that I felt like really applied to parents in the strategies for negotiations. So here with Phil Lecter, we're going to talk about the top 3, and there are 30 strategies altogether for negotiations. So you'll get a little bit today. You can go to the article and read some more. And if you really like that, let me know in the comments, and I will be glad to expound on that and give you the rest of them. So here we go. Top number 1.
Yeah, so number 1 is the flinch. And I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite strategies. Because the truth is that as parents, so often we're taught to be very, very firm, you know, don't show our reaction, don't show that. But in reality, in negotiation, showing our reaction is so critical. Like, whoa! I mean, you know, when we hear something, it's amazing. We've got to make it bigger. And amazingly, you know, you can't use it all the time. I mean, that's one of the best parts about using strategies and tactics is that timing is everything on this, right? You have to use it at the right time. And if you overuse some of these, they become, you know, it creates a challenge in its own right? You lose trust. But boy, I tell you, in my household, you know, whenever I see something coming my way, and I'm ready, you know, I can see it coming, I know they're about to ask for something, or they have asked for something, I'll normally go, whoa, really? How do you expect to get that? And I'll use my body to tell the story just as much. And so often as parents, we forget to practice that.
Yeah.
The key on it though, and I'll tell you the key strategy, and as a parent, it's still hard to do, but the key on that strategy is that you want to make sure you're in control of that reaction. Right? So that you do the physical reaction versus your body physically reacting and you're not really in control of it. You know, we all have that, like, oh, can't believe that. So, you know, we actually control the action so that way we get the type of response we want. You know, a negative flinch it's not really negative. It doesn't have to be a negative or an upset. It's really just a reaction. And we want to make sure as parents that we give them, we show them that reaction so that they have time to respond, but yet at the same time we don't make them feel off, wrong, or really undercut their creativity. Because at the end of the day, as parents, I mean, that's what I think our job really is to hone in their creativity and let them really start to expand upon their creativity so they don't lose it later in life.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. We want them to ask. We want them to ask questions. We don't want to shut down their questioning, but we want to gear them and guide them to the direction that we want them to go. And oftentimes, at least what I've experienced with raising my children, is that if you tell them what you want directly, they will repel you.
That is so
they
true.
have their own natural
Yes.
flinch response that when you say, you need to do this, they go, psh.
Exactly. Use it back. It's amazing. I mean, a lot of this I've just learned from dealing with my boys for so long.
Yeah. As I was learning every one of these strategies, I thought to myself, my kids use these strategies on me. So I need to get on this and know exactly what they're
Absolutely.
doing so I can use them back more strategically.
You are right on. And I mean, as we go into number two, we talk about shock and awe, right? And let me explain what that is. It's really when we use something a little bit bigger than we expected, right? Or that they're expecting. And a great example, and I do tell this story a lot, so I apologize if any of you have heard this story before, but my youngest son always used to push back. That's probably a nice way to say it, but push back on taking a bath every night. And I finally, and my wife's a kindergarten teacher, so she always has these great strategies on how to handle, pushback. And so I was listening to her, and she's like, okay, listen, why are you giving him, you're giving him the option to say no. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And what she said was, give him two choices. So, hey, it's time to take a bath. Would you like to do it the easy way or the hard way? So here's where the shock and awe comes in. So, and of course, the response is, sometimes the response is neither, but, the first response, well, what's the easy way? I said, well, we'll walk hand in hand down the hallway and I'll help you get into the bathtub. He goes, well, Dad, what's the hard way? I said, well, I'll grab you by your toes and I'll drag you in there and I'll dunk you in. And he goes, wow, well, I prefer the easy way. I said, that's a good idea. Let's go for it, right? And that's the shock and awe. You use something, you give them something that they can compare to, so that way they still feel empowered to make a choice. But at the same time, the action is what we needed to have happen.
Yeah. You're gearing them towards that one that you want them to choose for sure. Because it's so extreme, the other one. They were like, yeah, no way.
Yeah.
I'm going for that one for sure.
The one time he called my bluff,
Uh-oh.
I had to, and that's one of the things I would share in every strategy and tactic that you would ever consider using in negotiation, is you got to make sure you follow through. So I grabbed him by his leg and I started to pick him up. He goes, no, Dad, that's okay. I mean, it was one of those ones like I was really hoping that I didn't have to go very far on this one. Just to make sure though, but at that point he never challenged it again. He knew that the hard way is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, and number 3.
So as we talk about number three is feel, felt, found. And
I love this one. This is my favorite.
And here's how it goes. I felt that, I know how you feel. I felt the same way until I found out about. And, whether you like the words feel, felt, found, or, you can change those words up, but the idea is the same. This is an opportunity to introduce a different point of view without it being you, right? Meaning like, I was just like you one day. So, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way until I discovered this, right? And an example, what are some of the common fights that I have at my household? Well, throwing really heavy balls in the house, right? Obviously 2 boys, they're athletes, active, they do all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so we kind of made the determination that we were going to, have hard floors and not, everything was really buttoned down at the house. Stuff didn't fall off the walls, and it still does even when we say so. Instead of telling them don't, right? Hey, don't throw that ball. I say, you know what, boy, that looks fun. And I loved throwing that ball too until it broke the window. And then my dad had me pay for it. So, what would you like to do? Would you like to find another ball, or would you like to keep throwing that one?
Yeah.
And it was really an interesting discovery because they, it was the same concept, right? It was feel, felt, found. Hey, I was the same way. And then I discovered this, and it gives me the opportunity, or you the opportunity, to actually input a different point of view to let them make a different choice. Because at the end of the day, negotiating is simply about choices. And we present choices, and we are also presented choices ourselves. And we have to find that balance. And with kids, it's so much of the same.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. There was a couple more things that I wanted to mention to you. One is, and this was so powerful to me, that Phil taught us that in any negotiations, even when it's business, some strategies work at a certain time, some don't, and you just keep going. You win some, you lose some, you go all the way through. And I think that oftentimes one of the most common parenting mistakes is that we pick up a parenting strategy, we try it one time, and we go, oh, that didn't work for me, so I'm not using that again. And the reality is that every situation is different, every child is different, you are different in every situation. And so just the more these strategies you can put in your pocket, in your toolbox, the more at any given moment you can bust it out and say, okay, let's try this one, see if this one works. And there's some days with my younger children that I'm just pulling out every card I got. I'm just like, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this. Okay, sweet, that one worked today. Tomorrow, maybe not.
Something different.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. I encourage you, empower yourself with knowledge, empower yourself with tools to be able to have the most stress-free life as possible. Because that's really my goal, is to empower parents to reduce your stress. The more knowledge you have, the more control you have. And another powerful quote that I got from this training was, it's not about controlling your emotions, it's about making sure that your emotions don't control you. And that, to me, in parenting is paramount because it is so easy to let your emotions take over as a parent.
There is no doubt about it. In fact, my wife and I have this conversation all the time because, she's like, well, and I may be sharing a bad parenting skill on my part, right? But, she would always say, well, why do you punch him back? Because we're boys. It's this wrestling. It's wrestling, it's fighting, it's all this kind of fun stuff, and I said, here's the difference though, babe. I said, the way I see it, and I'm listening to what you're saying, is that I'm not responding out of anger. I'm in control, and like I said, we're not talking about punching or hurting each other, but it's this, it's are you in control? And meaning that your emotions aren't driving your actions. And as long as those emotions aren't driving your actions, and you're able to keep in that level playing field, that level head, you're able to understand how to pull the different strategies out and use them at the right times, boy, you have such a much better opportunity for success. Absolutely. And making a difference with your children. I mean, at the end of the day, as parents, that's really all we want to do is increase that creativity, give them the opportunity to be who they are and shine.
Absolutely. And in this, as we as parents live out these different techniques, we're teaching these to our children, and they can use them in their life as adults in the business realm. And, Phil has his son even working along with him because he's learned a lot of these skills and these techniques, and now he's in the business realm utilizing a lot of these skills. This is amazing stuff, people. So grab hold of it while you can. It's out there. Thank you, Phil, so much for teaching me. Thank you for allowing me to teach others and pay it forward. So thank you.
Absolutely, Jody. And keep going. I tell you, I love what you're doing. And I listen in, and I just truly believe in the difference that you're making out there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Comment below with your favorite tips here, and make sure you read the article and let me know if you want more. All right. Thanks, everybody. Seek life, live abundantly, and bless richly.